Now the way that in Western music we tune our instruments is there's 12 notes to an octave. I don't know if that makes any sense to you, but there's 12 notes in a division that we call an octave. Now, at a certain point in history, they made it a logarithmic scale rather than a purely a scale based on ratios, which is what they used in ancient Greece and ancient Egypt and stuff. So I'm gonna. This is like a chromatic scale. This is the notes of an octave. Okay, that's all 12 notes. Now I wanted to just try out something different, right? I wanted to try out what if I wanted more notes to the octave. So I programmed my instrument to do that kind of tuning. And I tried 24 notes. And I didn't really like the way that sounded. So then I tried, there's a composer who used 43 notes to the octave. So let's try that out. And that just seemed like too many. So then I was like, I tried 36 notes to the octave. So that's what this sounds like. So it sounds like a balloon being like inflated or something, you know? And I kind of like that, and I've been doing that for the last couple months. Now, if I was to try and do this with an acoustic instrument, actually, like Walter said, I performed in the Middle East. In 2008, I was a cultural diplomat, and I was hired by the State Department to go to, I didn't go to Turkey, but I went to Kuwait, I went to Yemen, I went to Bahrain, I went to UAE and Oman, and I performed and I interacted with a lot of musicians there. And everyone says, did you play on army bases? No, I didn't play on any army bases. I actually interacted with real Arabic people, and it was an incredible experience. And when I was in Yemen, I bought an oud, which is a string instrument they have there, which is, I don't know, it might be thousands of years old. I have no idea, but the oud, when people from that region conquered Spain, or whatever they were in Spain, they brought that instrument with them, and they left it there. That oud turned into the lute, which morphed into like something called a vihuela, which eventually turned into a guitar. So this is like a way, way, way back pre-Christian guitar. And when you play with the lute, there's no frets. Like I have frets here, and the guitar has frets. It's just a neck with, and they can play what's called microtonal music, which is increments smaller than 12 notes of the octave. So long story short, that's how I got into all this, smaller divisions than 12 notes. So I got an oud in Yemen. I brought it back to Brooklyn. I started taking oud lessons, and I did that for like a year maybe, and I realized it was really hard, right? And it took a lot of work just to be able to play something. And I eventually put it down. I still have it, but I don't really play it that much. But then, I thought, why don't this would be way easier than playing an oud, because look how big my frets are. So I did this. Now, if I wanted to do this with an acoustic instrument, to get an octave, you have to split a string in half, right? So in order to get intervals like this, I'd probably have to have a string that went from that table to like over there. Like it would just, to get frets this big, to do this small of a musical interval. An oud neck is really small, and they just barely move their fingers to get these kind of notes. That's why it's so hard to play, because the neck is so small, you just kind of like roll your finger. But I have these, and I can play them, perfectly in tune. And I could just hit this button, and then I have, this is like a fretless version. So I get all the in-between notes. And if I want to do this, now I'm back into my 12 notes of the octaves. So, I don't think you can ever have an acoustic instrument do what I just did. And then if I want to go back to a fretted, now I'm in standard tuning. that's a huge advantage, and I get to explore all these musical possibilities. If I was just playing guitar, I'd never even approach this. You know, I could never do all this stuff. Okay, any questions about that so far?
In MIDI, you're kind of limited to discrete notes. How do you achieve like fretless? How do you translate fretless playing?
Okay. So he's right. In MIDI, you get like these notes. So you like C12, C sharp 12, D5. You're limited to these notes. So what I'm doing is I'm sending. This is like in MIDI also, by the way, you're limited to 127 divisions in MIDI. So what I'm doing is I'm basically taking this string and I'm dividing it up into 127 divisions, and I'm just sending the computer those divisions. I'm not sending it a note. And then I map that out in the software. So I'm not actually sending a C. I'm sending like 68 or 67. So I basically in this fretless version, I mapped out each, you probably can't see, but there's little lines which represent frets. I mapped out each fret, and I said at that point, play that note. So that's how I can get all these. And also, by the way, I transferred from, I'm not even working with notes, I'm using frequencies, right? So I'm using A440, A220. So it's purely frequencies, it's not musical notes. And that's why I can get all these bends and stuff. Let me show you. I'm going to play a little bit more music, okay? I'm just going to show you guys some more stuff. I'll make this quick, but I'm going to just try and demonstrate once again how the computer can imitate what I'm playing and take the information I'm playing.